The Pride Center of Edmonton provides a non-judgmental, welcoming space where people of all attractions, identities, and expressions can be themselves, find support, meet new people, and be part of a caring community. The center offers resources, volunteer opportunities, counseling, and sensitive and expert information and referrals for those seeking help. The center also organizes programs to help improve the social, mental, and physical health of the 2S LGBTQIA+ community. To learn more about making a donation, volunteering, or otherwise supporting and engaging with this organization, please visit pridecenterofedmonton.ca.
Hey, this is Trevor from Halifax, calling in to say that I support Creative Control on Patreon because I think long-form arts journalism is a crucial part of music culture, and there's simply not enough of it out there today. Vish is a master interviewer, he lands great guests, and he has his finger on the pulse of the ever-changing music landscape, both here in Canada and abroad. For all of these reasons and many more, I think you should support Creative Control on Patreon too.
To make your flexible monthly donation to Creative Control, please visit patreon.com/Creative Control today. I'm Visha's wife, and I will love him no matter what you do. And now he has me on the record saying that.
All right, Lorraine, play me something.
Jon Benjamin is a very funny actor, comedian, producer, songwriter, musician, singer, and voiceover icon who is often known as H. Jon Benjamin and who calls Brooklyn, New York home. Originally from Massachusetts, Benjamin is best known for his award-winning roles, voicing the lead characters in two classic animated TV shows, Archer and Bob's Burgers. Prior to securing those respective jobs, Benjamin was a well-regarded stand-up comedian and performer who was beloved by his peers and earned roles on many television shows and in films, including his own 10-episode project in 2011, Jon Benjamin Has a Van, which aired on Comedy Central. In 2015, Sub Pop Records introduced us to Jon Benjamin, Jazz Daredevil, who records and releases jazz albums focused on his own piano playing, even though he has no idea how to play the piano at all. On August 15th, 2024, Sub Pop released the latest album by Jon Benjamin, Jazz Daredevil. It's called the original motion picture soundtrack of the unproduced film The Jazz Daredevil, which prompted John and I to have a talk about things like the H in his name, his Massachusetts roots, and the time he attended a Guelph Storm hockey game in the mid-1990s, thoughts on the Edmonton Oilers and the Boston Celtics, working from home, and how recording sessions for Archer and Bob's Burgers differed, why he should consider playing the Guelph Jazz Festival, and the Jazz Daredevil's overall perspective on jazz. The story and cast of characters behind the original motion picture soundtrack of the unproduced film The Jazz Daredevil, trying to make this movie, perhaps with a star like Daniel Day-Lewis attached, what's next for The Jazz Daredevil, other future plans, and much more. A part of the Lionsgate Sound Network with the support of listeners like you, who follow and subscribe to this listener-supported and donor-driven podcast, spread the word about it, leave nice reviews and ratings on your podcast platform, and make flexible monthly donations at patreon.com/Creative Control, which is the primary and most reliable way for podcasters just like me to make some kind of living, and where a monthly subscription of $6 American or its currency equivalent means you can access every single episode of this show in its entirety, which is not the case without that subscription. In fact, the episode I've just been describing to you with Jon Benjamin is not available for the general public. You must be in its entirety, I mean. You'll hear an excerpt of it once I'm done talking here. But you'll just hear an excerpt if you're listening to this as a member of the general public. However, Patreon subscribers at the $6 American a month tier or higher get to hear every single episode I put out in its entirety. So, if you'd like to support me and my show and not miss a moment of my conversations with all of my guests, please consider subscribing to this show at patreon.com/creativecontrol. With additional support from Blackbird Music, a wonderful record store with bricks and mortar locations in Edmonton and Calgary, Alberta, and a website, blackbird.ca, which enables you to order records and have them shipped to your house if you can't make it into the province of Alberta from wherever you live. Say you want a copy of this new album by Jon Benjamin, Jazz Daredevil. Again, the name of the album is the original motion picture soundtrack of the unproduced film, The Jazz Daredevil. If you want a copy of that, go to blackbird.ca, type it in, and see if they can help you get it. I bet they can. Plus, in-kind support from independent businesses like Pizza Trocadero, The Bookshelf, and Planet Bean Coffee in Guelph, Ontario, and Granddad's Donuts in Hamilton, Ontario. This is episode 898 of Creative Control, featuring the lovely and talented Jon Benjamin, with your host, me, Vish Khanna. Please enjoy this excerpt from our conversation, and to hear the whole thing, again, subscribe to the show at patreon.com/creativecontrol. I am so excited to speak with you, particularly because while I am a fan of the Jazz Daredevil, I'm perplexed by it. I find it confusing. I don't, as a music fan, as a fan of the
Same here.
As a fan of the Guelph Jazz Festival, as someone who was on the board of directors,
which I didn't know about.
Yeah,
which I admittedly didn't know about. World-renowned festival. Next time you come in for a hockey game, I hope it's in September so you can attend the Guelph Jazz Festival. Anyway, I want to know everyone. I hope to play the Guelph Jazz Festival. Yeah,
it wouldn't be that far fetched based on what I've heard.
It's possible.
Yeah, I think it's possible. So again, I'm very confused. I guess I think I understand the Jazz Daredevil, but the new release that we're here to talk about is a bit baffling to me. People can't see this. I'm actually stroking my forehead in consternation. I'm not sure what to make of this situation.
I'm sorry.
No, it's fine. It's just getting to me. My wife also is like, "What's happening?" I'm like, "I don't know."
His hair is literally falling out.
It's very complicated, and I've spent more time with your discography, in fact, and was listening to your iteration of Danger Zone last night, and it's just very, very, very fascinating stuff. We should start, I think, with who exactly or what exactly is Jon Benjamin, Jazz Daredevil? Can you explain this to the people listening, Jon?
Yes. Well, the Jazz Daredevil is a jazz piano player who cannot play. And I recorded my first album with session jazz musicians in New York, and I tried to play with them. We recorded it live. We played jazz. I did too. I just played my own form of it with them. They played capably. I played my style, which is, some would say, incapably. So then we cut that first album, and then I did a second album where I switched to synth. That was in the progression of my music.
A Moog synthesizer, to be precise.
We've recorded on a Moog, mainly on a Moog, on Mini Moog, yeah. Although there were a couple acoustic piano numbers, I think. But I wanted to switch to synth. It was like, going electric.
Yeah, just something for the kids. You thought something that
I thought it might improve the sound. I thought it might kind of mask a little bit of my inability to play. It didn't. And then we just put out this third album, which is a soundtrack album to the Jazz Daredevil movie, which is so far unproduced.
Right, and I want to delve deeply into this soundtrack in a moment, but I just want to home in on what you're talking about in terms of your incapability to play. What is your musical background, per se, as a pianist or a synthesizist?
I mainly, as a child, I I did Suzuki violin for about 4 years.
Oh.
And then I played recorder, I think, which was, I don't know why recorder was taught. Maybe that was there's a gateway
school. Yeah,
right?
both my kids have had recorder in grade school.
Right.
Yeah.
It's a feeder toward the woodwinds.
Sure.
Perhaps.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's that's what they say when they send you the note home. Yep. This is a feeder to the woodwinds. Yes.
Yeah. That gets you sucked in, and then that's how. Yeah.
Yep.
And no piano training whatsoever.
So Suzuki school is a little bit advanced. As I recall, this is the thing where is the parent supposed to put
Suzuki,
or how does that work? What is that?
I actually don't recall the methodology. It was I believe Japanese, right?
Yes.
Technique of how to learn faster.
Right. I thought there was a thing where the parent plays with the kid or something. Maybe I'm wrong.
Maybe the parents were involved in the beginning. Yeah.
Okay.
That's possible. My mother was the director of a performing arts school, so she was musical. She didn't play piano, but she was a ballet dancer, but she was musical.
Yeah, you keep emphasizing how you and other figures in your life didn't play piano, and I feel like that's germane. No one in your household played piano, but it sounds like there was music, a lot of music in the house.
Yeah,
playing.
No, my father was a jazz fan, and my mother was mainly listened to classical music. Mm-hmm. So there was, I wouldn't say, we didn't have a piano or anything.
Okay. No one played piano. You didn't have a piano. No exposure to the piano. You really are emphasizing that today. I noticed that.
We knew a lot of people who played piano.
Got it. Okay. Yeah. Your father was into jazz, and now you are into jazz. But I can't help but wonder if the Jazz Daredevil is in a way making a commentary about jazz as a form. Is that swimming around in what you're doing?
No, I think I had I remember having an early disagreement with the New York Times jazz critic about the first album, who I don't know how, maybe he just got in touch. He hated it.
Oh.
Because it's like any joke. When you tell a joke, it's kind of sometimes hard to tell the intention behind it. I mean, not most jokes. Most jokes are pretty obvious. But this is a conceptual joke, so I think he took issue with it being the typical anybody can play jazz, because it's not a real musical form.
I see.
And he thought that was a tired joke that's often told, which I totally agree with.
Yeah.
Of course, I don't think anybody can play jazz, and my intention was not to make that joke. But I could see why somebody would think of it like that, because I can't play.
But isn't it clear to anyone who listens that the joke is kind of on the Jazz Daredevil himself?
He didn't feel that way, but he did come around, so I don't think he was. We had a back and forth about it, and I explained to him basically what you just said, which is this is really about my incompetence and
hubris, thinking you can do something that. Because I see where that critic is coming from, perhaps as well. Because I've been to many jazz festivals, and the best ones are very inclusive. The best ones, thrive in an improvised music realm where it does feel accessible. I mean, it feels like I could experiment when I get home with whatever is going on. It may not even be conventional instrumentation. It could be tools, it could be prepared instrumentation. So I view it as not a critique or a satire necessarily of the form. Right. And I just want to say I'm talking to that critic right now, and it sounds like they came around to your way of thinking, but I think people should also embrace the Jazz Daredevil with that kind of openness and open mind. Does that make sense?
That does. I appreciate that. That's very well stated.
Okay.
That was always my intention with the whole project, even doing the second and the third album. Although this third album now we've sort of tried to actually, it's like sort of a higher concept. There's only a certain amount of bad playing I can do. until I think the joke is overplayed. So this third album was a real reach for us because we were like, I had to write real songs, and I still can't play piano in it, but that's not the entirety of the album.
I have to gently disagree with your notion that you can't play piano.
Yeah, you're right. I think I'm good at certain things.
There are times while your bandmates are playing and you're jumping in, and you're almost there. You're almost in the pocket, and then something.
I'm almost in the pocket.
Something just goes awry.
That's the sweet spot for me.
Yes.
Almost in the pocket.
Yes. It just.
I mean, that's what makes it funny to me, is that it's not that terrible. It's just off by a click. Now, I can't play chords, but I do have timing, and I am playing my own form of jazz, which is, I try to solo and I'm improvising. And that's a unique way to play when you've had no training. So there's something to my innate sense of timing.
Yeah. Now
just from having listened to jazz.
Yeah, you say you can't play.
I can't play better than most people who can't play. I can't play. I play better. You do play better than most people who can't play, or you can't play better than most? I can't play better. I play better than anybody else who can't play. You're the best player who can't actually play. Is that what you said? Okay. I think that's what I'm trying to get
now,
to.
you said you can't play chords, but you've embarked on this project. Now, we're 3 albums deep. Is something coming to you as you spend more time on the piano? I don't even know if I'm speaking out of turn to suggest you do spend any more time on the piano than you would in the studio, but is it coming to you a little bit? Have you figured out middle C? Are you figuring out how it actually works?
I know where middle C is.
Okay.
I couldn't hit it every time, but I know I could get very close.
Okay. So you are learning about the instrument with each album.
Well, I could say that when we recorded the first album, I got a very quick lesson from the saxophone player on basically like the fundamentals of a jazz song. And when we recorded live, I was particularly bad. I think if you go back and listen to it, I don't suggest anybody listen to the whole thing again.
The first album?
If you did, the first album.
It's wonderful.
If you do.
It's wonderful.
Oh cool.
I was crying laughing. It's so good. I couldn't. I was listening to it with my wife last night, and she was trying to read a book, and I was just cackling. I think it's very funny, the audacity of it all, and then the soundtrack collection as well. The
audacity of hope.
Yeah. I'm sorry I cut you off. I just want to say, if you're looking to have a good laugh and be moved by music, these are the records for you.
By the struggle journey. It's one man's struggle to get it right.
Yes.
To just get something right, and it's an impossible task, a Sisyphean task for the Jazz Daredevil.
Hey, thanks for listening to Creative Control, as always. As you may have heard me mention, I recently lost my day job, and I've had a few conversations with people since who've said, you had a day job? I thought your podcast was your day job. When I explained why it hasn't been my day job to a friend, he suggested I should share some of this information with people like you listening right now. So, in short, unless they have some giant exclusive $1 million contract, podcasters are not paid to make stuff by companies like Apple and Spotify. Podcasters do not make any money from streaming royalties. Ad revenue is dependent on a certain threshold of downloads each month, and even if your show is accessed 30,000 times a month, the income you get is actually really minimal. So podcasters like me usually make time in our lives to support our communities and our interests to make these shows, and our most reliable source of income for this work is, in fact, crowdfunding. In my case, it's my Patreon. So if you'd like to receive ad-free episodes earlier than everyone else, regular newsletters and blog posts, bonus audio content, and support my work, quite literally, please visit patreon.com/creativecontrol today. Thank you so much for listening to this excerpt from a recent episode of Creative Control with Vish Khanna. Every other Creative Control episode is only accessible to Patreon supporters. This is one of them. So please visit patreon.com/Creative Control and become a subscriber today, and you won't miss a single episode in its entirety. There are links in the show notes to take you right there, so if you're able to, please do support this show and enjoy hours and hours of conversation. Thank you.